What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of draft season as we barrel towards the NFL draft. Happy opening day to everybody who celebrates, including folks that get the fun thing of rooting for Juan Soto this year. Meegs, that is you. Uh, I have taken a sabbatical from baseball because the Yankees fucking suck, and so I'm not going to pay attention to them this year. But this is your emergency podcast for Darren Muji and Aaron Glenn finally solving the age-old question of who is going to play wide receiver opposite Garrett Wilson. We only do emergency podcasts when the team does something really groundbreaking, and the signing of Josh Reynolds has to count as that. Meegs, first off, how are you feeling? Happy opening day, and then give me your thoughts on the great signing that we had today of Josh Reynolds joining this wide receiver core.
Yeah, so I'm doing good. The Mets lost on opening day, which, if you're a Mets fan, is great news. Every
Yeah,
time the Mets win on opening day, they'll win like their first 8 of 10 games and then win like 74 after the fact. So
yeah,
great news that they lost. We now know the 100-win season is inbound.
yeah,
Just the Mets opening up with the Astros, like just baseball. This schedule was pathetic. The Yankees played the Brewers, this
yeah,
interleague nonsense. Like,
yeah,
get out
yeah,
of here. But
yeah.
I digress. But Josh Reynolds, I mean, the, the Jets hit a home run. Josh Reynolds in this
Come on.
offense? Come on. But no, Josh Reynolds is a fun player. He's like a
Yeah,
super useful blocker. He can catch
yeah,
the ball. He was cut by the Broncos, so this doesn't factor into the comp pick for him. So anyone racing to think that, well, my God, the 6th round pick we might get for Tyler Conklin is gone. Crisis averted. You're good on that for all my comp pick comrades out there in the comments. Don't
yeah,
you worry about that. But yeah, Josh Reynolds, useful body.
yep.
I think we all think Alan Lazard is either going to get cut after the draft or he's going to get traded so they can find a taker. So this wide receiver room is going to be Garrett Wilson. It's going to be Josh Reynolds. We'll see if Tyler Johnson can
Hmm.
make that seam. The Malachi Corley tweet today was, yeah, God, just swap him for a day 3 pick and cut your losses. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of where I'm at. What about you?
Well, I find it fascinating that Malachi Corley decided to believe in aliens after Aaron Rodgers was let go. I mean, but when we talk about the impact that Aaron Rodgers had on these young guys, there's probably no more of a microcosm than that. I think what I like about the Josh Reynolds signing is it does. I mean, I don't have to pretend that Alan Lazard is going to be on this team anymore. I think that's good because he essentially just fits that role, right? He's the bigger body, 6'3", a blocker. I think what I think you're gonna see. I want to say that and we've talked about this a little bit. Opposite Garrett Wilson, you really shouldn't think about that in this offense. That's not really why you should look at it, especially if they draft Tyler Warren at 7. Like they need a secondary pass catcher, whether that's
Yeah.
a tight end, whether that is another receiver. Maybe they take Ted or Golden or whatever. But
Or whether it's
realistically,
Brees.
or whether it's Brees, who's the second target, the second target hog. The opposite. I'm not so worried so much about who's opposite Garrett Wilson like that. I'm not. It's not really something that I'm sitting here worrying about because I do think the Jets are going to address that secondary pass catcher in the NFL draft, which brings us to tonight's episode. So Meegs and I are going to do a 7-round mock draft for the New York Jets, fresh off of Connor's mock that you can find on NBC, his 3-round mock draft for the Jets. We're going to do all 7-round picks. We are going to do some trades, but Meegs and I are in agreement that we don't think the Jets are going to trade back from 7. This isn't the draft to trade back from, but we do think they're probably going to try and trade like hell from 42 or 73. So let's jump right in. Meegs, we are on the clock with the 7th pick. I'm going to hit start on the mock
Mm-hmm.
counter, and so I will tell you, Cam Ward went 1, Carter 2, uh, Membu 3. That's interesting that they gave that to Campbell 4, Travis Hunter 5, and Ashton Ginty 6. So that means on the board right now, if you're the if you're Moog Knight, it's Mason Graham. Shador is still on the board, but I'm going to assume you're not going to take him.
No.
Tet and Tyler Warren. Who are you taking? And this is again with Membu and Campbell both gone before the Jets pick came up. Who are you taking?
So I think this is maybe will surprise some people, but I don't think it should, seeing that he's Mason Graham's on the board. But I'm just going to take Warren. I think that's what the
Yep.
Jets would do. Like
Yeah.
you can find a Tyleik Williams in the 2nd round after Colson Loveland, who I don't think he's just as good as Tyler Warren, but he's definitely like a comparable level player. As much as I like this tight end class, there's no one like him. Like I
Yeah.
don't think there's another tight end in this class after Loveland, who should go in the top 18 picks, like minimum, can handle like a 70 target season in year one. Tyler Warren
Yeah.
can. Like,
Yeah.
I think he's the only guy in the draft who can improve your pass game and improve your run game simultaneously. Like, people could say that's Membu because he completely allows you to do with the offensive line, and while I entertain that, he's not an option for him.
Yep.
Like I said, Mason Graham's a hell of a player, but I brought this up with Dan last week, and I want to get your
Mm-hmm.
thoughts on this. Is that people don't want to take, and this is not just Jets fans, like people don't love the idea of taking Genty in the top like 10 because
Yeah.
while he's a blue chip prospect, it's a deep running back class.
Mm-hmm.
You should probably apply that same logic for Mason Graham
Agree.
because the defensive tackle class is deep. Defensive tackle is a more premium position than running back, but it's not like offensive tackle or not like edge. It's a little. I'd say it's probably in the same thing with receiver and corner. But I'm going to use that logic here. I don't think the combo of Mason Graham in a second round or a third round tight end is going to be as good as what I think Tyler Warren and then one of the day two defensive tackles are going to be.
Yeah, I share that same sentiment. You know that the logic that I always apply is if what I can get in the first round. So, say for example, I'm leaving this draft class with say Tyler Warren and a Darius Alexander. Say that's who I leave with, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would feel much better doing that than leaving with Mason Graham and like an Elijah Arroyo, who again I like Arroyo, but a lot of the other tight ends outside of Tyler Warren are big receivers. They can't block like him. And so they're going to have to come off the field. Like, look at Dalton Kincaid. Dalton Kincaid, I think you and I liked him as a player. But the thing that we kept saying when he was being drafted was, what happens when you want to run the ball in your Buffalo?
Yeah.
He can't block for anybody. That's why they keep using Dawson
He's your
Knox.
slot receiver.
Yeah, he's your slot receiver.
That's all he is.
And so I'm with you on that. I also think it's what the thing that I keep saying, and I've said it's in the Discord a lot. I can't fathom sinking another first round pick into this defensive line. When I can just draft a guy that, to your point, is going to help me in the run game and in the passing game, like Tyler Warren. Yes, he's not Brock Bowers, but who the heck is? What tight end is in the last 10 years is Brock Bowers.
Yeah. And this draft class doesn't have Malik Famers. It doesn't have Marvin Harrison Jr. I don't think it even has the tackles that last year had. Like J.C. Latham, who we had some reservations about, is probably a clear as day OT1 in this class.
Yeah.
Like,
he'd be pushing Will Campbell for sure. Yeah. I mean, I think that's real. I think, and I think that's another really good point that you make. That once you
Joe Alt would have been hands down.
Oh, Joe Alt, right. And that's I mean, I love
because we love Bolo.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned Alt because Alt is a guy that I remember the prospect fatigue got exhausting with Alt, where people were like, oh, like he's too big, 6'7" or whatever. Like, and how's he going to handle speed rush? And it's like he's going to throw them to the ground. That's what he's going to do.
Yeah, he's going to put his hands on them. Then
exactly,
they're not gonna move.
And that's it. All right, so you took Tyler Warren at 7. So now we're sitting at 42, and you get a phone call from the Tampa Bay Bucks who want to come up to 42, and they are offering you 53 and 84.
Okay, who is on the board?
Okay, so I like that you asked. So on the board right now, we have Benjamin Morrison.
Okay.
Ariante Ursary. Okay. Jalen Milroe, but I don't think he's a consideration for you right now.
I don't think so.
Cameron Williams from Texas.
Okay.
Josh Connerly from Oregon.
Okay.
Trey Amos, Jonas Savanea, who I like to compare him to like Rocky Maivia. Wyatt Millen, Deion Walker, who somebody had a really funny tweet about him, said he's the Mekhi Becton of defensive tackles in this class. Okay. JT from Ohio State, the edge. Yes. Azariah Thomas, cornerback from Florida State, is also on board.
Who are the receivers on the board?
Okay, so the receivers on the board, Alec Ayomaner from Stanford, who I like, but I feel like I can get him a little bit later. Isaiah Bond from Texas, who might be a one-trick pony. Jaden Higgins is on the board at this point. I know he's a Discord favorite. And Jalen Noel, the other Iowa State wide receiver, also available.
So, I'm going to ask you this because you gave me basically free reign on 7.
Yes.
Do you like Josh Connerly or Jaden Higgins enough to not take this trade back?
No, I don't like them enough to not take it. I don't like them enough.
And we're gonna trade back.
Yeah. Okay. So we are trading pick 42 to the Tampa Bay Bucks for 53 and 84. And what I like about that trade is that it does give us two more picks in the 53 and 84 plus
Mm-hmm.
73. So now we have three. Now we're going to end up with four picks in the top 100, which I really like considering where you have these picks that you need. All right, so let's do that. We're going to accept that. Okay. All right. Now we're at 53 Meegs. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And sure enough, Connerly is gone. However,
Yep.
we still have the three wide Bond, Higgins,
All right.
and Noel are still there.
This is Jaden Higgins all day.
Jaden Higgins. Okay, yeah, I agree. I like that pick. For the folks who aren't familiar, because I know he's been a Discord favorite, but I have seen, and I haven't been on social media that much, but I have seen that there's been a lot of talk around like him and just his game is fit with Garrett. What do you like about him pairing him with Garrett Wilson?
He's height, weight, speed. At like I say it like for those who are really, he's a Packers wide receiver. Like they can run, they can move. He's actually bigger, who's good at contested catches. I do know he can make plays with the ball in his hands. To me, I don't know if Jaden Higgins is ever going to be a star or anything like
Mm-hmm.
that. Like I would probably bet on him not being one. But I just think that's a very solid wide receiver number two who I know can block, I know can do the dirty work, and I know can catch the ball. Like he doesn't remind me quite of this player because this player was picked in the top five, and Jets fans like don't have the best relationship with Corey Davis. But I think Corey Davis was as when he was in Tennessee was super useful next to AJ Brown as like he was never going to be better than the star who you hope is Garrett's going to continue to be.
Right.
But he's super useful in the run game. He's good at the catch point, and I just think that's a guy who Jane Higgins is going to have an 1,000-yard receiver in with a 17-game schedule. I feel confident saying
Yeah.
that. I'm not even his biggest fan on this platform. CR, I think, has him at. I think he's
Yes.
his wide receiver 3. So
Yeah.
I think he likes him more than Luther. I think he likes him more than Luther Burden, which should say a lot to people.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it's funny because I did a mock earlier where I took Luther Burden for the Jets at like 19, like after like a trade back or two, because I
Mm-hmm.
was like, man, I was like at that point you just really can't pass up the player. He's so good, right? But a lot of people are going to flock more to Jaden Higgins because of the size, the ability to help in the red zone. And I do like getting him at 53. I think that's really good value for him.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so now we've taken Tyler Warren, we've taken Jaden Higgins, so now. I mean, the offense with them and superstar Josh Reynolds is pretty set.
Yep.
We're at 73. You have one trade offer that I don't think you're going to take because I don't think it's going to speak to you, and I wouldn't take it either, just so you know. But it's 73 to Dallas for 76 and a 2026 fourth rounder. But I will tell you who's on the board right now for your consideration. So you have Darius
Yeah.
Alexander, the D tackle from Toledo, Emory
Mm-hmm.
Jones, offensive tackle from LSU, Andrew
Mm-hmm.
Makuba, the safety from Texas. Uh, uh, the Broncos quarterback's half brother, Tez Johnson, who is family adopted, Bo Nix's brother, Tez Johnson, and Barrett Carter from Clemson. Also, you have a couple running backs, but I don't think you're going to take a running back.
Yeah.
Jalen Royals is also here, but we just took a receiver in the last one. Chris Paul Jr., Jared Ivey from Ole Miss, although I could have sworn I read that he got hurt. Like he hurt his ankle or something like that. Lathan Ransom, safety from Ohio State. Ashton Gillott, the edge from Louisville, who I really like. Josiah Stewart, also the edge from Michigan. And Gunnar Helm from Texas. Those are the next 15 prospects that they've ranked.
Yeah, to me, this is just. I'm just going to take Alexander. Like, beef up the trenches, good player. Don't have any real reservations about them. I don't even know if he falls this far personally. I think he's a player that some people I think can see in the top 50. So getting here is just too good a value to pass up.
Yeah, I agree. He's one of my favorite D tackles. When we talk about like again how deep this interior defensive lineman class is, I'm like, if you could get him at 73, I think you'd be good. All right, so in the trade back with the Bucks, you ended up with pick 84. So we're back on the clock now, and I will tell you right now. Let me just move your screen over here to tell you who's on the board. So we have Andrew Makuba. He's the number one, but he's the best.
Just
him.
run